All right, I'm the less handsome Nick of the two. Fun fact: I actually grew up with Nick Shaw, and Nick starting Ambush is what got me interested in marketing. So shout out to Nick. All right, so today I'm here to talk about driving sustainable growth, and this is something that I run a company called Sharma Brands. We're an agency, growth agency, based here in Flatiron, but work with brands all around the world, and excited to share with you guys what really is, to me, observations that I've picked up on, observations and patterns, and tactics that we've implemented with different clients. A lot of this actually came from meeting with one of our clients over the last couple weeks and hearing about how they're thinking about driving growth in 2025 and just how wrong some of the platform reps and advertising reps are advising some of these brands. So that translated into about a 9-page document that I'll put a link for at the end here so you guys can download that or save it, read it. But let's get into it. So who am I and why am I here? So I run a company called Sharma Brands. We work with a lot of the fastest growing e-commerce brands on helping drive growth and awareness, launching them, scaling them, all the way up to Taco Bell, Bacardi, Estee Lauder. I write a newsletter which goes out every Sunday to about 100,000 people in the e-commerce, CPG, advertising world. I've invested and I advise over 100 different companies, including Grapevine, which is awesome. I've spent over $250 million myself just in the platforms on advertising. And so, like Casey, I used to run a lot of the media myself. And I'm sure anybody who's here who's run ads before knows that internal gut feeling you used to get when pulling those levers. We generated, almost $1 billion last year in revenue. And then lastly, we've driven a lot of brands to help them, or we've grown a lot of brands in a way that has allowed them to exit. And so we're very aware of what the levers are in order to drive sustainable growth. So quick background on Sharma Brands. We basically do all things digital. If anybody wants to learn more, feel free to hit me up later. One brand that I invested in and have loved watching grow is called Lemmy. And this is a brand by Kourtney Kardashian. It's a supplement brand that launched just about a couple years ago. And it's been truly a case study in brand building and launching a brand, and then eventually scaling it to a point where, they're running a very profitable and large operation. Obviously, they have a big celebrity face, which is where you get a lot of the initial eyeballs. But their case study in terms of how they have launched a new product as a new brand, brought new audiences into the brand, used that brand to compound and get bigger and bigger, and then keep doing the same thing is, I think, the best playbook that anybody can follow today. It starts with an idea, right? And you try to find this product market fit. From there, you try to build a brand identity, something that helps you stand out or separate yourself. A reason that somebody buys your brand versus the other 89 that are competing on the same shelf right next to you, most likely with the same type of use case or ingredients or whatnot. You start marketing top of funnel in a way that is efficient. That leads you to bottom of funnel. I think middle of funnel has sort of gone away. That's just consumers doing their own research nowadays. You build an amazing commerce experience. You measure everything you do, and then you bring that back to the top of funnel. You sort of keep that part going. And then as you are launching new products, building out the brand, creating new reasons to buy, inviting new audiences, you turn your customers into subscribers or evangelists. Now, if you look at what VC has done to the M&A world of consumer brands, this is basically how VCs bet. You've got the green line, which is the software company that they believe is going to be the 1 in 10 or the 3 out of 10 in their portfolio. And then you've got the red line, or the red line, which is basically the other 7 out of 10. And they brought this sort of thinking into the world of consumer, where they expect the success to happen the same way the green line does. But the reality is this orange line is a lot more realistic in terms of what happens in the world of consumer. Consumer brands are something that you have to build trust with over time. It's not like ChatGPT where you launch it and all of a sudden you have 1 million users overnight. You have to incorporate trust and consistency and build new audiences and test new messaging. And so this age-old world of venture investing into SaaS and software where you can hit a 3 out of 12 does not work, because in consumer, those numbers are way less. And the same way that VC support software companies is just not the same way that brands need to be supported. If we look at some of these brands, these are some of the larger brands that box is supposed to be Simon Pierce, which is a homeware brand. These are brands that have taken years to build. You know, Hint was started in 2012, I believe. Orgain probably around the same time. Skims is a bit of an anomaly, but you know, it's taken years to get to where it's gotten to today. Red Bull's another great example. Brands take a long time to build because you're basically inviting somebody into a brand. You're not just giving them a product and solution. Otherwise, they can go find that same product and solution elsewhere. So this presentation, although it's quick, it might be a little bit different. It's more tactical than high level. So you can take notes, or like I said at the end, I'll have a link where you can download an 8-page report of very similar content. So the first thing I think about, you know, start finding product market fit. This to me is the hardest part of any brand, launching it, figuring out how do you fit in, how do you find your 0 to 1. And today, I actually don't think you really find product market fit because you're not finding a product, you know, with a market in it. You're actually finding product, channel, audience fit. If you look at, for example, has anybody seen Jolie, the filtered shower head? Couple of people. Okay, you guys got nice hair. That makes sense. You know, Jolie is a great example of product market fit working well for that brand because they found product, channel, messaging fit. It's not a great example for other showerhead brands that are competing. They're trying to offer the same product, 50% off, unable to sell it. So it just goes to show that product market fit is not the same metric it used to be. The next thing is finding product market fit. You're really focused on lower funnel marketing. You're just trying to figure out, is this thing getting sales? Am I able to acquire customers in a range that's reasonable or sustainable? And then the last thing is understanding what is successful product, channel, audience fit. You know, for example, when I worked at Hint Water, we were acquiring customers all day for this $15 variety pack. But then when we realized, or what we realized was that these customers, while we acquired them, you know, under our CAC target and we were getting them all day, they were actually not good customers. They were not buying in retail. They were not coming back and buying online. They were not turning into subscribers. And so also making sure that as you're doing this, going 0 to 1, you got to figure out what is that sustainable product, channel, audience fit. The next thing is top of funnel. So most brands, when they think about top of funnel, especially you suits, no disrespect, when you think about top of funnel, this is sort of what you think of, right? Large TV, large scale brand advertising, you know, covering billboards, putting a bunch of money into retail pushes. In reality, the best way to actually approach top of funnel these days is similar to what Nik and Casey were mentioning, which is focusing on the platforms where people are consuming content in the way that they want to consume. So TikTok Live, TikTok Shop, leveraging TikTok affiliates and the creator network that they've basically built for you. YouTube ads, you know, YouTube ads are something that tend to be hard to measure. Most people don't run them, and so they just don't. But when you actually measure them properly, you'll recognize that YouTube ads do a far greater job building that top of funnel. Creator partnerships like Nik was talking about, working with content creators, either because of the audience that they have or because of the content they create that you can push to an audience that you know is likely to buy. Advertorials is actually very similar to what Nik was sharing with the article from Madison Reed, going to essentially a landing page that's disguised as an editorial piece, hence the name advertorial, and hooking somebody in with a story they can relate to, and then selling them the product and showing them why it's so great for them. And then the last one is product seeding. These are some of the top of funnel strategies that, you know, a lot of the fastest growing brands today are doing without, honestly, without a lot of these platforms even recognizing. You know, TikTok has no understanding of how brand like Comfort Hoodies is running $200 million a year in revenue through TikTok creators, TikTok Live, TikTok Shop, and all these other platforms. The next one I think about is bottom of funnel. So as Casey was hinting toward, you know, Facebook, TikTok, Google, all these platforms sort of do the work for you. As long as you make sure you're disciplined in how you are structured and set up within these platforms, you can actually drive pretty efficient growth. The lever being creative, which requires rapid and iterative creative testing. This means that every week, proportionate to the spend that you are putting out, you are testing a bunch of new creatives, new messaging, new positioning, new angles, new audiences, new whys, you know, showcasing how something fits into a routine differently. How are you speaking to somebody who's buying colostrum going to the gym versus somebody who's just, you know, a 35-year-old woman in Manhattan who takes it in the morning as a supplement? And then the last one is making sure that you're optimizing each product as its own funnel. You've probably seen product ads on Facebook, on Instagram, on Google that are just single product focused. And you know, you click it, it goes to a product page. Doesn't allow you to hit the home page or a landing page or anything of that nature, which requires you to make sure that every single every single product page acts as its own funnel. You have to make sure that you're answering, what is the product? Why does it exist? Who are the competitors, and why is this the best option? If I buy it today, how soon do I get it? Next one is the commerce experience. So the best way to think about the commerce experience is basically your website or where people are shopping. This might be Amazon. This might be another marketplace retail site. In most cases, it's your own .com, or for the companies you're buying, it's their own .com. So first thing to make sure is, I always run the grandma test or the drunk test, which is if somebody's had 2 whiskeys, can they go to your site and successfully learn about your product, what it is, why it exists, and purchase it without any hindrance? Or the grandma test. And the reason I like the grandma test is grandmas usually have really slow internet, old iPhones, wacky screen sizes, and you sort of run the same test to make sure that they can do all those things successfully. The next one is building out landing pages. So landing pages, could be an advertorial. It could be a commerce experience focused on specific messaging or positioning angle. Again, going back to how somebody might consume something as a gym bro versus, a 35-year-old woman in Manhattan. But landing pages are essentially what I consider the red carpets of web experiences. As somebody is walking it, you should feel like you're getting every single question answered as you're going down that path. Designing and testing new customer offers. There's a lot of brands that don't run new customer offers, which I think is a huge miss. When I was at Hint, this was our 36 bottles for $36. Other brands, they have an intro offer. If you go to everydaydose.com, you see they have this bundle running at 50% off for new subscribers. These are all examples of great intro offers, which bring people in and lower the barrier of entry for somebody to test, while making sure that the end product that they receive is enough to sample and really taste and experience that product. Upsells and post-purchase offers, these are something that's easy to implement. It's more of a one-time implementation, and usually can hit anywhere from a 15 to 30% take rate, which is an amazing bump to revenue and bottom line, especially when you've already paid for traffic to get there. Promoting subscriptions to drive better LTV. Prioritizing zero and first-party data opt-in, meaning, most brands average 3% collecting first-party data from people who hit their websites. That number should be close to 10 to 15% for both email and SMS. And as much as you can gather more data points, the better it is, because you can segment those users out, treat them differently, and speak to them in ways that's a lot more engaging. And then the last one is collecting, showcasing, and syndicating social proof. Everything from, people tagging your products on Instagram, reviews, and then making sure that those are getting shared across TikTok, Goop, Amazon, Revolve, your own website, et cetera. The second to last piece, or I believe the last piece, is actually measurement. So, the question people always ask is, what impact does this advertising actually have on non-Shopify or our non-DTC business? Or they might say, what do our Grapevine ads have to do with our sales in Walgreens? Or what does our out-of-home campaign in New York do for, Target stores in New York? And most brands, if you're at a stage where you're looking to sell or you're scaling, you've already got kind of the basic tracking set up, whether that's MTA or something of similar nature. But the one that I've seen work best when you have multiple sales channels and multiple advertising channels and multiple points of sales is running a proper incrementality study. And constantly, we have brands that run, incrementality studies year round, because we're trying to figure out, okay, what did our Snap ads today do for Walmart sales? What did this style of campaign within Facebook actually do for offline sales? And the only way to do that is by running an incrementality study and understand what is the actual incremental lift of a channel across all your sales channels, not just your .com. It might be that, Snap drives a 0.5x ROAS on your .com, but it drives a 2.2 ROAS when you factor in your Walmart sales nationwide. So last thing I'll say, if you have got a consumer brand today, you really have to focus on driving growth in a way that factors in profit and making sure that you're reinvesting into the business versus just going and raising outside capital. You want to focus on a profitable omni-channel advertising and distribution solution. You want to focus on building a brand that compounds over time, which comes a lot from creating content and driving engagement within your existing customer base. You want to measure all of your activities to make sure that you're not doing things that are, showing short-term returns or not capturing external returns where you don't have, a dashboard for Walmart.com sales or Target in-store sales. And then the last thing is, don't focus on just what worked initially. A lot of times as these brands are scaling and growing, you have to adapt to different strategies, tactics, channels, etc. And lastly, I'll go back. Lastly, if you want an 8-page doc, just go to nik.co/scale, nik.co/scale. That's it.